Hey everybody, welcome back to Northernlion Plays The Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus, where we've, after a fairly considerable period, well, a single video of badness, we're back to a streak of 4, which is not really that impressive. Y0872NB2, but it's okay. I mean, what can you do? You can't do better on 4 runs than picking up 4 wins. I challenge you. Find a way. Without skirting the rules of engagement. You might remember, yesterday, I talked about, well, maybe not yesterday. Yesterday for me, it might have been 2 or 3 days ago for you, depending on, you know, I forget specifically which Isaac video it was. But I talked a lot about Xbox Game Pass and downloading Forza Horizon 4 in order to play the new Battle Royale mode. I have now played probably 4 to 5 hours. It is the following day of Forza Horizon 4, and man, oh man, dude, what a video game. It's a very well-made game. The Battle Royale mode, I am unsure about, but I am very happy to support new and weird innovations in the Battle Royale formula. I've had some wins. Well, no, but by wins, I mean I've had some head-to-head one-on-one wins. I've not had a full Eliminator mode win. But it did what it came to do. It got advertising for the game, which led to me getting Xbox Game Pass, which led to me getting Forza Horizon 4, which led to me playing like 5 hours of it and being like, man, this is like a really incredibly good racing game. Anyway, suffice it to say, that's that. The end. Fun to drive and pretty as well. That's my review. I want to start a video game reviewing website. Reviews games in like under 50 words. The last time I wrote an under 50 word essay, this is not a joke, my local newspaper held a contest. This is probably in the year 1999 or 2000. In 50 words or less, write to the newspaper and explain to them why you deserve to see Air Bud 2 World Pup with your friends at a private Cineplex Odeon watch party. I have no memory of what I wrote. I did not win, by the way. Which is fair, because to be honest, it was one of those contests I participated in, not because I wanted the prize, but because I wanted the thrill of winning. Which is, I'm not going to say it's a bad reason to compete in something, but, you know, there are other people that probably wrote, I'm the biggest fan of Air Bud. I was a blunt child. I was probably like, I think the movies are, quite frankly, a little juvenile, but I would welcome the social engagement time with my peers. They were like, some 50-year-old wrote this. Give it to the kid who said, I like the dog, he's so cute. But it's always stuck with me that 50 words is like the exact minimum amount of verbosity to convey like a single idea as well as possible. Well, as well as possible given that few words. I always think, even when I'm, you know, when I do a Let's Look At or a Northernlion Tries or something like that, how many words go into describing the game? You know, it's got to be like 1,000 minimum. We could really cut that down in the written word. Forza Horizon 4, those words don't count because it's the name of the game. Shouldn't have done that quite yet, that's okay. Cars are fun to drive, great sense of thrill, Xbox Game Pass $1 for 3 months. You don't even need to give it a score after that. You've done your part. Okay, please work with me on this one. Oh, you've worked with me. Anyway, today is Friday. I'm very, very excited to have a day off on Saturday. I can't remember, like, this is a weird one, but I'm honestly like, what the heck did I do on my day off last week? I felt like it went by in like a heartbeat. I remember the Canucks played at like 10 a.m. No, it was 1 p.m. And then after that, oh, I remember, okay. That's why my day off felt weird last week. is because, like, just as my day was getting started, in the early afternoon, due to the early Canucks game, my wife was like, "Oh crap! I forgot I forgot that I had a wine tasting class later today." And I was like, "Oh, all right. Well, all of our plans for today can wait till next Saturday, I suppose." I don't know what I'm gonna do. It's been an eventful week full of the launch of new YouTube series, vehicular-based battle royales, unexpected deals with the devil. Whoa, unexpected deals with the devil. Not to mention, you know, my wife chopped part of her finger off. Hoping that perhaps next week. All right. Okay, I've screwed it up a little. Yo, you can make it. Hoping next week is maybe a little bit more uneventful. I don't know if you can make this one, dude. You might want to just stick to this guy right here. Okay, we're trying to not screw ourselves over too much. We could always go to the shop and buy some more stuff. Shouldn't even have gone this deep, but now we're here. Okay, that's very interesting. I think 1 is the perfect potato peeler amount for now. I can totally live with this, dude. This was a pretty good situation for us. We traded 1 HP for an orbital and a damage upgrade. Got Gimpy. We also got Succubus. I'm very glad we were not left at 1 HP, because this room is like the 1 HP destroyer. Yeah, honestly, I'm just eager for a quiet week. I've been having a great time playing new video games, I will say. I always, you know, I forget. I've mentioned it many times before, even in the last couple of days alone. But I love playing new games, and every time I get kind of like worn down by like, video games, it always brings me back up to play new stuff instead of just being like, load up the anecdote engine Isaac again. Now, the correct position is to have a balance, I think. It's like including pizza in your diet, you know? I think, you know, again, I'm not a nutritionist, obviously. But, you know, I think if you budget for it, you can fit pizza into your diet without feeling too guilty about it. The real dangerous stuff, you know, is soda and, you know, sugary drinks of the alcoholic variety and, you know, corn-based snacks that you just kind of mindlessly eat despite not deriving any pleasure from them. But whenever you think about not eating them, it makes you feel displeasure. Some more, those are the ones you can... If you get those out of there, I think you're going to be in a better position. But, you know, a little bit of pizza now and then, I think you're fine. However, no thank you. If you go all in on the pizza, you're going to find yourself in a bad place, probably. You're also not even going to enjoy pizza that much anymore. If you go never pizza, you're going to spend a lot of time being like, boy, I could really go for a slice of za right now. You got to find that happy medium, you know what I mean? I think that's what I'm looking for here. The mix of new games, old games, and etc., etc. Did you watch the Game Awards last night? I did watch most of them. I had to go to a meeting related to the management of our living space. I'm not trying to be cryptic. I just don't know how to explain it. You know, we got shared amenities, so I gotta be like, you know, I think you shouldn't be able to fart in the gym. Well, that's not really fair. I think you should be able to fart in the gym if you have to, if nobody's around. If somebody else is around, I think you should have to ask their permission, and that would never happen, so just hold it. So I missed about a third of them. But I will say, I saw one of the most incredible advertisements during the Game Awards last night. It opens with an American city blanketed in water. You know, like asteroid impact causes a, you know, 100-foot tsunami that crashes into downtown Manhattan sort of stuff. And then it shows, you know, the water is slowly being drained. What's going on? Then you realize you're moving back through time, and you're like, oh, I can't wait to see where this ends up. They're moving back through time. Gonna take you back to the past. They move it back, they move it back, they move it back. All of a sudden, you see that all of the water in this massive biblical flood was created by a man's tears from watching Norman Reedus hold the baby in Death Stranding. I have never... in my entire year on planet Earth here, 2019, one ring around the sun, I don't think I've had a genuine belly laugh that hard. Because it was so unexpected. When you're first watching it, you're like, oh, this is going to be probably like some standard post-apocalyptic game, or I don't even know, maybe it's like a strategy or 4X game that deals with climate change or something like that. You know, it's got you buzzing. And then all of a sudden, you see that it's just the grown man crying so much because he loves Norman Reedus and the baby from Death Stranding. I have to say, I talk a lot about advertising in these videos. I think it's a really effective ad. And I honestly think, this is in my heart of hearts, I think Sony's in on the joke. I don't think Sony is playing it sincere as like, you know, this, what an incredible moment. I do think there's a little nugget of like, for sure, people, you know, think that the game has a lot of emotion in it, and I haven't played it myself, but I'm sure that's true. But at the same time, I was like, you guys are geniuses. This is a beautiful commercial. Thank you, Sony, for and you know, Kojima Productions for willing it into existence. It's a commercial that's hilarious about something that's not necessarily funny. And I love that tonal dissonance. It's the best piece of media I've seen since Avengers Endgame. Yo, we finally got a Gimpy payout. It's not useless. That's very nice, actually. We could definitely still benefit from that speed. We're hoping for a little bit of HP. Barring that, I will give the key beggar some keys, but I don't want to give him too many. I would say that 6 is already too many, but I had to wait for him to pay out at least once. 6 keys for a spirit heart? Please make this guy not useless. God, I hate him. He boomed me straight up. This is a very good array of trinkets for us, though. That seems like a fake one. You know, this is a good array of trinkets for keeping us, you know, steady at this stage of the game, is really what I mean. Because, you know, the extra money we're getting makes it very likely we're going to get an HP upgrade. Oh, get out of there! The HP upgrade makes it very likely, well, it makes it more likely we'll be able to get a payout from the blood bank as well, which will give us more money en route to that happening, etc., etc. Dude, okay. Well, I'm actually not displeased with this, but I could be more pleased. Still, can't be too upset. We do have Dark Prince's Crown right now. Probably not something I would look to as a reliable source of DPS for us, because it's very finicky if you have to keep your HP at that level while having greater capacity. But we'll see. I'm not sweating it right now. That room was okay for us. And what a strange room. Why do those feel off-center? Just try to get our HP back up a little bit. I'm glad we're done with the arcade, though. We had a lot of stuff going on in there. It's been handled. I was also... This is a spoiler for the Game Awards. I don't necessarily believe in the concept of a spoiler for an award show. See, we ruined our Dark Prince's Crown already. But if you haven't seen it, you know, turn this off and watch it, I suppose. Okay, now that that's out of the way. Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, won Game of the Year. Out of all the games that were nominated, I thought it was second least likely to win. I figured, and this, again, like I mentioned earlier, I don't think there's any sort of, I think they probably did, you know, work hard to avoid what it would appear to be conflicts of interest from the host also being involved in the production of Death Stranding in whatever capacity he was. It would look a lot fishier if Death Stranding were poorly received, but for the most part it was not. But I thought, definitely, for me, I was like, Control has a lot of momentum and was very well respected. I thought The Outer Worlds was probably the least likely to win. It was also one of the, like, only ones... Well, that's not... I was going to say it's one of the only ones I played, but that's not true. I played Smash as well, but... Well, and Sekiro, obviously. But I was like, I'm pretty sure Death Stranding and Control are probably at, like, the top of the list. Smash is, like, a little bit of an outside choice. And then, like, both Sekiro and The Outer Worlds have very, very low chances. To see that Sekiro won, I was like, dude, that's pretty cool. Because I actually... It's gonna sound ridiculous, given the pedigree of that game. I think it's kind of slept on, though. I think it's a combination of it being... and you gotta let me finish this one, because you're like, well, it's not slept on, it was published by Activision, it sold 35 trillion units, blah, blah, blah. I mean, slept on in terms of, like, the modern critical consensus. Well, not critical consensus, but, like, the fan consensus. Death Stranding had the benefit of being, you know, something basically never before seen. Control had that cool kind of, like, SCP vibe going for it. And, you know, Smash, beyond just being, like, a great game, Smash also has almost, like, some meta stuff attached to it, with it being, you know, like, Sakurai's baby and stuff like that. So I really thought Sekiro was, you know, it was kind of underrated. When it got recognized, I was like, oh, dude, that rules. Anyway, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, really, who wins and who loses the games. I know you're like... He's gonna say, it's just a pleasure to be nominated. No, that's not, I mean, I don't think it matters to a huge extent who's nominated either, although it's an honor. You know, as I know secondhand. But, you know, it was just nice to see it. I was glad to see that I was actually wrong, and Sekiro has a, you know, it does have a certain degree of, reverence, or a high degree of reverence, I should say, and was not merely forgotten about because it was released in, like, March. I also turned to Kate and I said, hey, Kate, remember when I had a sponsor deal to play the best game released in 2019? And then she said, ha ha ha, yeah. And I went, I love this job. Anyway. Quit bragging! Okay, so I'm very happy we got Blue Candle, because I'm not sure if you noticed, but our damage is actually really bad. And even with Dark Prince's Crown being active, which admittedly is not, but even if it were active, we'd add like 50% to our rate of fire. Don't get me wrong, it would be nice. But our damage is holding us back right now. This would be a very, very good floor for us to... you know, start the process of getting that handled. Because we really have a lot of, like, knock-on effects, you know? Like, if we get more damage, Succubus becomes substantially better. Succubus becomes better, we kill enemies faster, we take less damage, I'm happier, you know, it's a big quality of life improvement. It's like an Instant Pot. So if we could, I mean, really at this point, we're getting to the stage of the game where I'm like, I have to be a little greedy. If I had my choice of damage upgrade, it would be a multiplier for sure. Magic Mush, Cricket's Head, something along those lines. We don't have a choice, but sometimes it's fun to pretend we have some agency there. Whether or not it's valid, you know, remains to be seen. I am looking to get back in the Mega Satan game. So, like, you know, as of right now, we have one Angel key piece. Problem is, you know, with our okay, just hit me. Whoa, we got out of it. That's incredible. At this stage, I don't really see me choosing to fight Mega Satan with the offensive capabilities I have. But, hey, man. Still plenty of ball game left, as Dan would say. Let me out. I guess the other thing is, you know, I don't know how big of an announcement it is. I know so little about console gaming except for the Switch right now. They announced the Xbox Series X, which is just a... I don't even want to talk about the name. Everybody knows the names of the Xbox platforms are confusing. I think at this point they're doing it just to make people upset. I guess also the Series X... It sounds like it has prestige attached to it, right? Is that an Xbox? Yeah, it's an Xbox, but it's a Series X Xbox. It's the difference between a regular Xbox and an Xbox Roadster, an Xbox Model S. I don't even know if this works, but I had to try. I don't know, is that big news? Don't just go, no. Like, you know, I'm mostly a PC gamer, but were people anxiously awaiting the release of the information regarding the new consoles? I did think it was one of the best pieces of media, apart from the Death Stranding commercial, that came out of that was the teaser for Hellblade 2. Now, I haven't even played Hellblade 1, but the teaser, I heard it was great, for the record. The teaser was so good that I was like, dude, I gotta play the first one. That happens to me essentially never. So as far as I'm concerned, whoever is in charge of the marketing department there at Ninja Theory, you gotta give them a raise. They've drummed up interest where none existed. Not the most impressive floor for offense, but still plenty of time. So I thought that looked cool. I will say though, like, I know there's a lot of positivity. Well, let me rephrase. There's a little negativity, a little positivity. Let me rephrase. There's a little positivity, a decent amount of negativity, and a whole lot of about the Game Awards this year. And I actually agree pretty wholeheartedly with the but like with a you know, like slightly mildly positive, I suppose. The thing is, I finally reconciled that I just shouldn't be a nerd, and I should not think of the event as like awarding the actual best game of the year, but instead just a celebration of the consumer side of video games, which is totally fine by me, and I'm a cog in that machine to begin with. But I gotta say, some of the reveals, they strike you as a little hollow, and I have no bone to pick specifically with Riot as a company. I'm one of the 4 people on planet Earth that has never played League of Legends, which is a lie. I played League of Legends, this is the truth, 1 match in 2010, because my friend said, hey, this game's getting a little popular. You want to check it out? I played 1 match and was like, I have no idea what's happening, and I hate it. I probably would like it now, because I like Dota. Or I liked Dota, I should say. But, you know, at the time, I was like, I don't really get it. It's kind of like StarCraft, but you only control 1 guy? This'll never catch on. Anyway. But they had 2 teasers that played at the event that, for me, really highlighted, like, some of the disappointment of the Game Awards, to be honest. Because both of the teasers... Yo, this is so good. Thank you. Both of the teasers were exclusively, like, a character talking about, like, I will descend upon Runeterra, and, you know, just like, the realms of Morena have been compromised, and not actually showing any gameplay, any description of what's happening in those games at all. Which, to me, I hope this doesn't make me sound like a curmudgeon, but is like... That's not an announcement. Or it's a meaningless piece of marketing, at least to me. Even if you were like, oh, I'm so excited to see what Riot's doing, that doesn't tell you anything. It's just a little bit of voiceover, and you're like, you play as Kronar, the Lord of Time, you know? I love the fact that we might be able to roll that into something more useful. Hold on, I actually think we should die and come back as Dark Judas now. I think we'll get a lot of value out of that. Plus, I was just gonna say, yo, we got those gimpy plays, dude. Okay, that's a beautiful thing right there. Then grab this. Now we have a homing brimstone that does double damage. Very, very nice. You know what I mean by that? Like, I hope it doesn't seem like I'm taking a pot shot at Riot specifically. Not that they can't handle it, but, you know, and you might... People, they always try to argue by, like, reflection. They always try to, like, present you with, like, well, what if you saw an ad and it was, like, you know, Isaac talking about something. Well, if I had, you know, the thing is, I don't want to, you know, take a shot at the golden goose here, but I would feel largely the same way. I suppose I would be like, this is a little exciting that there's a new Isaac property in development, but okay, here's where it gets complicated. I don't really care about the Isaac extended universe. I care about good games, and Isaac and its expansions largely, I would say exclusively, but to placate the masses, I'll say largely, have been good to great games. And Bumbo is a good to great game as well. So if you just made something that was like, you know, a teaser with the lore of Isaac, I would be hype to some extent because of the fact that, you know, the people involved with the games have a history of making them and making them good. But I wouldn't, you know, I guess by default be like, oh boy, a new Isaac adventure. Despite knowing nothing at all, I can't contain my excitement. I feel like you gotta give people a little bit more. You gotta give them more juice than just a story teaser that contains no gameplay. It didn't even have cutscenes either. It's like, I've come to realize, by the way, I have been gaslit for too long. People try to tell me I don't respect lore in video games. That's not true. There's just only one type of lore I respect. I respect cutscenes. When I bought Metal Gear Solid 5, I watched the whole 55-minute intro where all you do is walk for 5 minutes occasionally. And then G-Dragon shows up and is on fire. And there's a flaming horse. Look, and I loved it. I was like, this is crazy, and I'm into it. What I don't respect is lore given in the form of journal pages, graffiti, diary entries, including but not limited to vocal diary entries. To whoever's listening, this may be the last time I get to speak. You know, they've taken over the ship. The captain's with them. You know, I've heard it 35 times. And then the other one is bad dialogue. And, you know, don't shoot the messengers. It's a difference of opinion. A lot of games, in my opinion, are pretty not good dialogue. But a cutscene, I have close to infinite patience for a cutscene. And that's sincere. I'm not saying that the cutscenes are objectively the best kind of video game storytelling. I'm saying, rather, they're the kind that I find it the easiest to just shut up and, you know, listen to. and this, some games do it better than others, okay? So, like, in Divinity, the writing is, I was gonna say pretty good, but I would even say the writing is very good. Now, I don't have infinite patience to read some of the more verbose bits of lore you'll find in that game, but a lot of it, I'm like, yeah, I can get down with this, for sure. What I have so little patience for is a game that is just chocked to the brim with so-called ambient storytelling, just scattered around. I'm telling you, it's the diary entries. Captain's log. And yes, I'm speaking largely specifically from having played the Outer Worlds so recently. I feel like and I like Obsidian, to be clear, and I love Fallout New Vegas, and I thought the Outer Worlds was good. Not great, but good. And it's not fair, maybe, to criticize the game for not being a masterpiece, because I assumed that it would be, because it's from the team that made Fallout New Vegas, okay? So I think I'm too hard on the game to some extent. But I will say, every bit of lore I encountered in that game felt the same way. Everything's great on Murder, Inc. That's an actual record company. But anyway. Ah, yes, Capitalism Incorporated is booming. Oh no, a concern. We're eating each other. You know, those are the 3 diary entries that you get in every situation. And I had to feel that some people out there are out there reading it and they're like, oh, capitalism, there they go again. But for me, I'm like, can I get back to the part where I press V and my dude drop kicks a robot in the spine? There's just, it was lacking the frequency of that I was looking for, I suppose. Anyway. Suffice it to say, I had a middling experience watching the Game Awards. Well, I had a fun time watching. You know, I felt the actual production of it was middling. But I also understand that, you know, because the show is it's, you know, directed at like a general audience. You know, it's hard to make something for a general audience that people feel strongly positively about. I feel like most people that watch the Game Awards are like, yeah, that's pretty much what I expected, and I'll watch again next year. So at least, you know, I guess where I finish off with that one is I go like, kudos to them for at least trying to create like a, I don't want to call it a legitimate award show because that sounds weird, but like so much of, you know, games media is wrapped up in like these website lists to have some kind of, not even a unifying entity, but a more general entity for like, hey, this is the so-called definitive game of the year. It's worth a shot. If anything, I know it sounds weird, but I'm like, man, I just wish the reveals were like, revealier. There was some cool stuff, don't get me wrong, but I don't know. It's just, I do just hate a teaser that is, it doesn't even have to show gameplay. Like, at E3, I think you really want to see gameplay before you get hype about something. You know, you don't want to just hear somebody be like, it's the best game ever made, and you're like, well, so I'm sold, you know? You want to actually, like, see it in action, because, you know, inevitably, the sales pitches are always misrepresentative, and that might sound cynical. I don't know if I should even open this, dude. It might sound cynical, but I actually don't think it is. You know, everybody's sales pitch for everything they're invested in is different, you know? Even my sales pitch for me is different than the reality. You know, hey, I'm an analytical YouTuber who plays all sorts of indie games. Oh, really? Because I saw you get salty over Halo 4 days ago. So how do you explain yourself? Fair enough. But, you know, you want to see the game warts and all before you pass judgment or get too excited about it. But even just at the Game Awards, like a representation of what the gameplay is going to be like. It reminded me a lot of like, so there was another trailer for like Magic the Gathering, and it was a really cool concept. You know, it shows like one of the planeswalkers is walking through like the realm of the dead or something, and then she gets sucked down into the depths by a bunch of grasping skeletons. But then I had to remind myself, I was like, why do I care about this? It's a card game. I know that, you know, they're pushing the environment, but I would... This is not really, like, maybe fair to say, but I'm like, wouldn't it be more representative to be like, here's the new mechanics we're adding in this expansion to Arena or something? Maybe I'm misrepresenting it, but I'm like... Basically, you worked up a cutscene, which is very beautifully rendered, don't get me wrong, but actually doesn't inform anything of the way that the actual game experience works. You know what I mean? It's just, I'm not even saying, oh, like it's bad. It's just strange. But I imagine, it's kind of like, you know, Blizzard opening cutscenes. Yo, let's go. You know, when I was a kid, you watched that cutscene like 30 times, and you're like, yo, this is amazing. Then you boot up Diablo 1, and you're like, this doesn't look like the cutscene, Dr. Mike. But you're still like, it's pretty sick, but, you know, why is the cutscene 10 times more beautiful than the game? Well, it's due to storage constraints on the CD-ROM medium. Okay, fair enough. It's a very reasonable, logical answer. Thank you for your feedback. I'm glad I asked. Are we free? We're free. Anyway. I'll always have the PlayStation Pro ad. It got me good, dude. I just love it. Whoever came up with that ad deserves to be like the head of new media. Because that's not an ad. Well, I mean, here's the thing. I think you could come up with that ad sincerely if you've been working in the business for a long time. But I think in order to come up with that ad ironically, you had to be poisoned by, 3 decades of adult cartoons like everybody else in my generation. Myself included, to be clear. He cried so much when he saw the baby. He flooded the whole world. I mean, I've only seen the baby in 1080p. I haven't seen it in 4K yet. So, it's possible, perhaps, that that would be... It might do it for me. They did write a song about that back in the day. You're absolutely right. This is the story of a gamer who cried a river when he saw the baby. And though he looks so sad in photographs, he's absolutely flooded in 4K. I recently found out 4K is a lie. No, let me rephrase it because that's a very dumb statement. I recently found out 4K is not named 4K because, well, okay, we have to take you back to the past a little bit here. Why is 1080p called 1080p? Well, the 1080 refers to the number of vertical lines. So essentially, there's 1080 pixels. I know that I'm making myself sound like a fool. It's one of those times you're like, I'm either wrong, but I'm wrong for the right reason, or I'm right, but I'm right for the wrong reason. You know what I mean? It's based on the vertical resolution is what I mean. So if something's 1920 by 1080, it's 1920 pixels wide, 1080 pixels tall. So I assumed, and the P is for, it's a different type of interlacing basically, but I assumed, because I don't care about this stuff like at all, based on the games that I play, that should probably not come as a surprise to you. I assumed 4K must be 4 times the resolution of 1080p, because 1080 times 4 is, just over 4,000. So I was like, that makes sense, and I can see why it's such a huge leap. And then somebody was like, no, you're actually... And sorry, they weren't being ignorant. They were actually informing me here because I asked for the description. They were like, no, it's actually only like double the vertical stack, but because it's double the vertical resolution, and also horizontal for that matter, but because it's double, it's actually 4x because it's doubled in two directions, so they called it 4K. And I was like, how does that make? Why don't they call it 4x, dude? What is 4? So it turns out 4K is just a marketing buzzword, apparently. I'm not mad about it. Like our new TV, it does have 4K capabilities. When we can watch things in 4K, it's awesome. But what it actually means is that all of the television networks I watch have a 4K channel that pretends to be in 4K, but actually just broadcasts at 1080p. And to be honest, I'm sure that nobody notices. Trust me, by the way, I've been flipping back and forth. We got Sportsnet and Sportsnet 4K. When the Canucks game is on, I watch it in 1080p. Then I switch to the 4K channel, and I'm like, this is the exact same. You can't get one over on me. But the 4K version is free, so I'm not that upset. Anyway, for now, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the episode. If you did, click the like button. I bet you thought we had a chance to die there at the end. Not me. For now, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoy it. I'll see you next time. See you.